This is a review of the Fractal Design Node 804 computer case. You can see that this is how I run it. It has a window in the side, and I put it in my bookcase sideways so the window faces out so you can see into it, because I kind of like to see inside the computer. Anyway, it's a small form factor case, but it's not real small. You can see it's sort of a mid-sized thing, but it does fit neatly in this bookcase that I have, and it's right next to where my computer is. So I want to show you the features that I like about it, and to do that I'm going to take it apart. So I need to shut down the machine, but with the window in it you can see the ARGB lights on your graphics card, and I have liquid cooling. You can see the cooling block lights up. There's even a RGB fan you can see over here. So this is the view that I have. I did include a mirror. I put a mirror in the bottom of it so I can see the lights on the GPU a little bit better, both from there and if you look straight in at it, you can see the lights in the mirror a little bit better, because the lights on the GPU aim right toward the bottom of the case. That's the only drawback, is the motherboard with it mounted on its side like that. It kind of hides the lights of the GPU a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to take it apart and show you how it works. I've taken it out of the bookcase, and you can see it's clean looking on the top. The front looks really clean too, really clean design. This is the part that you could already see that was the window side. And then I'll show you what the back looks like. So you can tell from looking at the back, the motherboard mounts in the center of the case. And so the case is really divided into two parts. The power supply is on the bottom of this side. I'm going to take off the sides and show you what all is in here, but essentially the motherboard's on one side, drives and power supply are on the other side. But one of the nice things about it, these little thumb screws on the back, once you take those out, the case comes apart really easily. I've taken that thumb screw out, and all I do is slide the case like that. The side comes off. The same thing is true of the other side. And to get the top off, you simply push it a little bit back. Let me see if I can do it with one hand. You slide it back a little bit like that, and it just lifts off. So from the top you can see that the motherboard is pretty much right down the middle of this case. The reason I like that is because I have liquid cooling for the CPU, and you can see that what I've done is routed the cooling lines over to the other side, and I have all of the heat from the CPU. I have a 125 watt CPU. All that heat is on this side. Here's the radiator and the fan, and it all exhausts out here out the back on that side. All the heat from the GPU is on this side, and there's a fan here and a fan there that exhausts the heat out from there. So it really keeps the system very cool. This is the other side. When I take it off, it just lifts off very easily too. And what you see is there's racks. There's actually two of them. I only have one of them installed, but they have racks where you hang your drives. The power supply is here, and you can mount it so that it draws air from underneath. There's feet on here that keep this lifted up off of a hard surface. So the air can come up from under here and go out the back. That doesn't really contribute any heat to your system when you mount it that way. You can see here I've got the radiator for my CPU cooling. The radiator's mounted here. It's got a fan on it, so it moves the heat from there through the drives, which they don't generate a lot of heat, and then out the back. You can see there's a fan. So this came with 320 millimeter fans built in. And then I added the fourth one when I put in the liquid cooling. So it gives plenty of room in here and keeps all the CPU heat separate from the GPU heat. It turns out the front of it is just as easy to disassemble. It's just, all it is it has these little things that pop in there. You just unhook it like that, so you can pop it. The only thing that I'm going to point out that was a little bit of a problem is I had to cut the case right here. If you notice, I had to cut it here and I cut it there and had to fold this piece back because this is a 40 series GPU. They're so big and so long, the heatsink on it is huge. They're so big it wouldn't quite fit in the case. So I had to cut that. You'll notice that it extends out just a little bit. The case is just a little too small for this GPU. See how it sticks out a little bit? But luckily, the inside of this is held off quite a bit by these standoffs. And so there's still actually plenty of room in here to accommodate that part that sticks out. And so the case, it disassembles really easily. You have really easy access to everything. And even when I mounted there's a bracket that holds this cooling block, and you have to access the back of the motherboard. It turns out it's super easy to do because there's just two screws right here that you undo. That whole rack slides out and you have access to the back of the motherboard. I'm going to see if you can see, this is where I mounted that bracket. That's the back of the CPU right there. And so you actually have access to the back of the motherboard and the front. With the two thumb screws removed, you can see this rack slides right out and it holds the disk drives. You can see how it gives you access to the motherboard behind it. That's the bracket I was talking about. It also makes it real easy for connecting your drives and mounting them, and then you just slide it back in to those slides right there. One other feature about this is there are screens in the front. These screens right here are removable. You can slide it out the bottom, and it provides a little bit of protection from large pieces of dust and so on getting drawn into your system. There would be one on this side, except because I said the graphics card sticks out a little bit, and so I had to take that screen off. As far as the connections on the front, you can see on this side they give you a couple of USB, they give you the on-off switch and headphones and microphone. So they give you the standard connections, and they give you a light, power, and a hard disk drive light. But I'm going to be honest, I don't really use those connections at all because I turn my system off and on with the keyboard, and so I don't even really need access to them. That's why I mount it where the window is sticking out so I can see into the system. When you do that, these are facing toward the back, but if I need USB connections, I use the ones on the back, which are right here, and those are really dictated by how many are on your motherboard. But there are plenty of USB connections back here. I use those, and it's been plenty for me. On the bottom of the case, it also has these screen filters that slide in here. So they've really covered all of the places where air enters to be sure that it's screened, which I think is a nice touch. One other feature that I'll point out is this little switch right here. It has a low, medium, and a high setting, and it actually controls the 3 fans that they give you. So you don't have to plug them into your motherboard. You can plug them into that, and then it draws its power from directly from your power supply to power those 3 fans. Alternatively, you can unplug them from that and just plug them into headers on your motherboard so they're controlled by the temperature by the controller on your motherboard. So you can really run it either way, but they give you that option in case you just want to run those fans off of a switch. And it's pretty, even though it's a small form factor, it's pretty roomy in there. And when I check the temperatures, when I'm running, I run Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is really demanding. The temperatures stay really cool on both the GPU and the CPU. So it's set up really well for moving heat away from your system. So for those reasons, I've been really happy with it. Easy access, easy to disassemble, well designed to move heat away from your system. And just overall, it's been a really good case. I like having the window so that I can see into the computer. But you see, it gives you the back where you can pretty much, you notice the back, there's kind of a rat's nest of cables. You can hide all your cables back there, and it leaves a pretty clean look here in the front. So overall, I'm going to say it's a really good case. I've been very happy with it.